I'm William Shatner, and this is Heartbeat of America. Our show focuses on corporate America, its stories, its drama, its breakthroughs. We'll be going out today to report on an organization that is impacting our lives and shaping our future. An organization that truly is the heartbeat of America.
In the 20th century, William Shatner took us off on a voyage into the universe to experience what life is like on other planets. But now, here in the 21st century, he's back to explore what life is like right here on our own planet. This is all part of a series that we call Keeping America Strong. And as you know, part of Keeping America Strong lies in protecting and saving the lives of Americans. And one of the ways that that is being done is with a new device called the ResQ disc. It is being used by police and fire departments, by sheriffs, by the U.S. Border Patrol, the Coast Guard, even the Secret Service. It's also being used on military bases. In fact, 30,000 of these devices have already been sold, and I understand that's just the beginning. It's a very important and a fascinating story, and we're about to find out more from our guests, who are the ones who have invented and created this disc. They are from a company known as Save a Life. And I'd like you to meet him now, Dr. Tom Sitko, who is he is a PhD, an engineer, the inventor of this, and Karen Maynard, who's the marketing director of Save a Life, headquartered in Las Vegas. Welcome. Nice to have you here, folks.
My pleasure.
Tell me a little bit about what the ResQ disc is. Here, let me get everybody tuned in. This is it, my friends, the ResQ disc. And if you can look carefully, it looks like a gigantic Frisbee. It's very much like that, isn't it?
Absolutely.
What is the concept and what is it for?
It turns out that a Frisbee is an aerodynamic device that you can throw it over 100 feet to someone who's drowning in the water without ever having to get in the water.
What's the average that somebody can throw this without
Somewhere between, with practice, about 80 to 100 feet.
And you told me the Coast Guard did studies with this, throwing it from shipboard into heavy winds.
They threw it in a 20-knot wind. And they could take this disc and they could throw it 80 feet into a 20-knot wind. And this was an average of 5 guys doing it. The other part is that from the time they picked it up off the deck until it hit the water was only 20 seconds.
Do you want to show how it works?
Sure.
Why don't you do it?
Well, all you do is you pull the rope, which comes off like this. And then there's a place where you put your thumb and you take it and you just throw it, just like a regular Frisbee.
Very interesting. And it's a floatable line.
Right. The line floats. It's 500-pound test.
Right.
And this is hollow. And it has 5 pounds of flotation. And it has rounded edges, so if you accidentally hit somebody, you're not going to hurt them.
Right.
And it only weighs about 3/4 of a pound.
Well, it sure does. It makes certainly good sense. And it's not a terribly expensive device either, obviously.
No, they sell retail for $40. And if you buy them in quantity, you can get the price down even to half that.
Karen, let me ask you, you're the marketing director for this, right?
Yes.
But you've been involved. You know the story behind this.
I think one of the things he didn't mention that's really important is a woman or a child can use it because the life ring is so heavy. There's no way we could throw it that far. And even though I'm a paraplegic, I can throw it, what was it,
40 feet.
I threw it 40 feet myself. And I have no balance whatsoever. So I have 2 children. If one of them had fallen in the water, I could have saved their lives.
Well, sure.
You throw it over it.
Throw it over their head, and then hopefully they can grab the rope. This, in some respects, can be a lot safer than somebody going out to try and rescue somebody.
Yeah, according to the Red Cross, this is their big push. Throw, don't go. This is their motto. And the reason being is that if you enter the water with someone who's drowning, in the last stages of drowning, all they want is something that they can grab a hold of, put under the water, that will push their face out of the water. And they don't care if it's a person, it's a log, it's anything. And this is just enough flotation to get their neck out to calm them down. But if you try to, for example, 3 to 4% of the people who wound up drowning are rescuers.
Who don't really know the techniques to use when they're rescuing somebody who's floundering around drowning.
They lose somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 100 lifeguards who are professionals.
I was going to ask you, have you tested this with lifeguards to see what their reaction is?
I gave this to the International Lifeguard Association, 50 of them. The Australians lifeguards love them.
Yeah.
For the simple reason they don't have to get in the water with great whites.
Right.
I have them in
alligators.
Sarasota, Florida. I sold them to the lifeguards in Sarasota, Florida because they have stingrays as you're entering the water, where normally to get in the water you shuffle your feet to get them out of the way, but if you're running in the water you can step on a stingray and these guys can get hit. The other part is there are alligators in Florida.
Tell me some more about the various stories of people who've been saved by this device since it's been out. And it's been around for a little while, but I know it's saved a number of lives already.
Well, we've actually saved 6 people in Knoxville, Tennessee, and Whitewater Rapids. They were 3 of them were actually in tires going down. They flipped out of the tires, and then 3 bystanders thought they were going to be Johnny Weissmuller and jump in the water after them. Yeah. So they ended up with 6 people drowning in the river. And when the rescue people came by, they pulled all 6 of them out with the rescue disc, and they never had to get in the water. I even had a U.S. Coast Guard auxiliary. They had a water rescue out in Florida. And it turns out that about 5 years ago, I gave 2,000 of these out to all of the U.S. Coast Guard auxiliary boating safety classes and the U.S. Power Squadron classes, where I gave them a videotape, shows exactly how to use it and some of the rescues we've had in the television coverage, and I gave them a free disc. So they will show it in their class as another piece of equipment they can put on a boat. Although it's not a Coast Guard approved required piece of equipment, they do have, they like the idea of people having a throwable rope. There's several states that require you to have a throwable rope on your boat as part of your normal equipment, and that's not a federal government requirement, it's a state boating requirement.
Right. And this certainly fills the bill for that.
Yeah, and Border Patrol is one of the biggest customers. They have 4,000 of these in all their vehicles. For example, in El Centro, the water is so polluted that they wear latex gloves when they throw it out to the person in the water and pull them in, and then they take the disc and they throw it in the dumpster. I had one where a bunch of boats came onto a sandbar in the Mississippi River, which flows pretty good. And the girls had life jackets on, a couple didn't, and they got swept off the sandbar while everybody's standing around having beers in the boats, and they look and all of a sudden they're off. And they managed to save 4 people that time.
Well, I must tell you, it's a very fascinating and inspirational story, and you are indeed to be congratulated. Thanks for telling us.
Thanks for having us on your program.